Welcome to Album Deep Dive with Jason and friends. I'm Jason,
And
and
I'm
this
Joe.
and Joe's a longtime friend of mine. I'm very happy to have on the show, and a friend of mine I haven't connected with in a few years. So this is even more special. It's a reunion. Today we are going to be discussing. Um, I definitely, for me, my favorite Monkees album, Headquarter. Uh, Definitely a huge fan of the Monkees, but a huge fan of this album. How about you, Joe?
Absolutely. It's hard to pick just one Monkees album, but Headquarters is, in my opinion, maybe the most important of all the Monkees albums.
Yeah, and I guess Joe, I know you were just briefly we were having an offline conversation where you really said it very well. Um, you had the first two albums, right?
Of
The
course.
Monkees and the More of the Monkees. And do you know why what separates this album from the last those two?
Well, this is the album where the Monkees pretty much went in and declared their independence as musicians.
Yes, Joe did his homework. Yes, this is the Monkees. This is your only the Monkees albums from the '60s, because you wouldn't see that again until I think it was the mid '90s with Justice, and that
Yeah.
was where they regrouped with Mike. But without the first two albums, which were phenomenal albums, great writers, great studio musicians. I think some of the younger albums had I know Neil Young, I believe what's his name, Rick James, I believe too. I mean, don't quote me on it, everyone, but I think Rick James. But Headquarters, great album, very important. Monkeys saying we want creative control. Released on May 22nd, 1967. I don't think you or I were there for that one, but definitely on Cold Gems Records, produced by the Monkees too, and Chip Douglas, which Chip Douglas I know has a long, outstanding relationship with the Monkees that started off in the '60s, and I know he played a huge part of their 1986 revival. Um, I'm going to challenge you on this one because I don't know, and I think you're going to know better than I am. I don't know much about Chip Douglas other than him working with the Monkees, but I know he's done other stuff.
Yeah, directly before this album, he was with the Turtles,
Okay.
playing bass with the Turtles. And the way I understand it is that Mike Nesmith approached him at the Whiskey A Go Go with his idea to bring him in to produce the Monkees.
Wow. That's cool. I mean, again, and I think that it gets skipped with all the Monkees drama of not, writing their own songs or recording their own stuff. But Mike Nesmith really did always record and write his own songs, and I think he really gets overlooked from the '60s as what a great songwriter he was. And I think one of that is definitely even before the Monkees, he had that hit with Linda Ronstadt, I think it was.
Yeah, and the Stone Ponies. Yeah,
Yeah. Oh God, what was the song? San
different
Francisco.
drum,
Different drum. Yeah, different drum.
different drum.
Yeah,
Yeah.
different drum. Um, who would have known? I mean, I heard that song for years, and I don't think it was maybe 10 years ago I found out Mike Nesmith wrote it. I was like, wow. Um,
Well, I don't know if you remember, there is a short segment. I can't remember which episode it is, but Mike Nesmith comes out on stage. I forget, he's auditioning for something, and he plays a bar of different drum. I mean, real sheepishly and kind of like stupidly, but it's in one of the episodes.
oh wow, I did not know that. See, I've heard there's rumors that Tubi's getting all the episodes sometime this year. I keep on checking Tubi because I really haven't seen them in a long time. I mean, obviously saw them all. 1986 was my year with the revival. I remember watching the Monkees on Nickelodeon, thinking they were a current band, and then my mother going, "No, this was what I grew up." And I was like, "Really? Wow!" So that was like my learning, experience with that, and did get to see them in 1986 too. That actually a quick story about that. They were playing New Jersey, Garden State Arts Center. reunion tour. Gary Puckett, Union Gap, Herman's were there, and I kept on asking my stepmother for us to go to this concert, go to this concert. She said, okay, okay, okay. So finally I get to my father's house visiting on the weekend. And I'm like, did you get the tickets? She's like, no, let's go now. And this is when you had to go drive to like a ticket place. You couldn't just, or you could call, but we had to drive to there. And I remember her walking up to the counter and saying, 3 tickets, lawn for the Monkees. And the lady started laughing. And my stepmother was like, what's wrong? And she goes, you just literally bought the last 3 tickets. It's sold out.
Oh, wow. Wow.
And I was like, I would have been devastated because I was like, that was my band. Charting position on this album, which I was actually shocked because I thought this was the album that stopped the #1 streak. But no, this album did go Billboard Top 200 #1, which would have been their 3rd in a row. Over 2 million copies sold worldwide. I highly disagree with that. As of 2026, I am sure it sold over 200 million. 2 million since then. I don't think they really update album sales the way they should. Because if you look at some of the Beatles stuff, they'll say like, "Oh, 1 million copies sold." There's no Beatle album that only sold 1 million copies from the 60s to 2025. I'm sorry. Held the #1 spot briefly before being replaced by Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Band. Now, as an artist, could you just imagine like being able to say your album was #1, but then the Beatles released this random album in '67 and knocked us off? And that album was one of the biggest albums probably in ever, which is insane. But I will say, I'm a Monkees before Beatles.
But there would be no Monkees without the Beatles. So
correct. But I love the Beatles. I love the Beatles. But I was definitely more of a Monkees person. But again, my infatuation for both is very high. All righty. So obviously, we all know the Monkees came from a television show. They were a fake band. So this was their opportunity for them to become a non-fake band, an actual real band, where I believe Mickey had to learn how to play drums. He did not, right?
right.
Tork and Nesmith were definitely musicians from the get-go. Tork actually knowing Stephen Stills before the Monkees. So I did see that. I think Stephen Stills recommended him or something, or convinced him to go on the audition, right?
That's correct. In fact, Stephen Stills went to the audition. They liked him, but didn't feel his look was quite right. Asked if he could recommend somebody. That he sent Peter, and well, the rest is history. But I mean, think about what the Monkees is and like what it was intended to be. They weren't intended to be a band. They're like you said, they're a television show. So they go out with a casting call, and random people, random strangers are selected to play roles on a television show. And there's nothing wrong with that. The first album, it's a great album. A lot of great, songwriters and studio musicians were involved. The Monkees did the vocals, but I mean, who was the target audience? What was it supposed to be? It wasn't supposed to be a real band. It never was. But they hired 2 strong musicians, and Peter Tork and Michael Nesmith, and then 2 who were probably stronger in acting, in Davey and Mickey, who could sing. They throw them out, and you're a band. Well, at least on TV, and they're not supposed to be real people.
Yeah, and it's amazing they were actually able to battle a network and get their spot to have this album. Because usually that wouldn't fly. So it must have shown you their success at the time.
And I'm so glad it turned out the way it did. But when you think, a lot of times people think about Don Kirshner. Oh, he was running the music supervision, and he was, in control of everything they did in the studio. And of course, as musicians, Peter and Mike, I mean, that irritated them. but that's what they were hired for. Was Don Kirshner wrong for putting out these two albums, the Monkees and More of the Monkees, that was a hit and making lots of money? In the end, I mean, Don Kirshner wasn't about, oh, we got to be true to the art. He was like, let's make the money, right?
Yes.
And they did.
Yeah. Well, let's go back to here. So Don Kirshner, definitely a man not to mess with, from what I understand, without a doubt. In that era, you did what he said, so that was, pretty awesome. They challenged that, but I also heard with More of the Monkees, the second album. I want to say it was Mickey that did an interview that said that they didn't even know they were having a second album. He literally went to the record store and it was there. It was like, oh, they put it out? Like, I mean, they had recorded all the songs, but they weren't expecting, because I think it's only like 6 months in between. And now I know you play, you play guitar, and musician, and like I couldn't even imagine, like your thoughts, like doing an album, then putting out one 6 months later. That's crazy, right?
That's how it was in the 60s, though. I mean,
Yeah.
they would just, you look at the Beatles, amount of, they just crank one out and then another album. And I'm like, how did they get that many songs? Now artists don't do that. But
Oh,
back then it was, they were cranking out product.
yeah.
And here we are in 1967, and the 60s is one of those decades when you look at any year, it is so different from any other year in that decade. But
Mhm,
if you take 2003, and then you look at 2013, and then you look at 2023, I mean, yeah, there are changes, but you might not be able to tell, but like from 66 to 67,
mhm.
completely different scene.
Yes.
It was just changing year to year.
And it's, off this album too. I think it was like 14 songs or 13 songs. Again, something very rare. You usually had like 10 songs. So who played on the album? As we all know, this is the first time that the bands actually played on the album. So you had Mickey Dolenz, who was doing drums, lead vocals, and he actually played some guitar, which was very surprising to me. Michael Nesmith, lead guitar, rhythm guitar, vocal, songwriter. No shock there. Man was genius. Peter Tork, again, bass, piano, organ, banjo, and guitar.
Banjo.
Yep. And it just shows you what a musician he was. And, granted, his vocal styling, I think is very cool, but definitely wasn't making the Monkees cut of being the lead singer. But what a musician to play all those different ones.
Yeah, probably the strongest musician. And Mike was very good, but I think Peter was probably the strongest musician.
Yeah, Mike was a singer songwriter.
Yeah, and a good
Yep.
guitar player.
Hmm. And Peter, I would definitely say, was a true full blown like musician. Davy Jones, you could definitely know that he's the talent of actor and vocals, because his contribution was vocals, tambourine, and percussion. I don't think it takes much for tambourine, but when you look at 60s tambourine players, Davy Jones, without a doubt, it's the best. He didn't get he
He was
didn't get,
doing Broadway. He's doing Broadway shows and,
yeah.
and musicals and things like that. I mean, that was his background.
Yes, but nobody slapped the tambourine like him until Stevie Nicks came. Then she took over for a tambourine in my world. Um, Additional musicians, Chip Douglas bass, not surprised. Billy Lewis bass. I don't know who Billy Lewis is. Have you?
I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with that.
And Eddie Hoth, Hoh, drums. It's probably, I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't some of the great, studio musicians from LA. What was the one the real popular one that did like all the Beach Boys, the group of musicians. God, I cannot believe their name is getting out of my head. Um, they were a group of studio musicians that worked together a lot with Brian Wilson and Phil Spector. God, I can't remember their names, but I wonder if they're part of that. Songwriters, Michael Nesmith, Mickey Dolenz, Randy Scout Skit.
That's a story.
Yes, and by far my favorite Mickey's thing. Professional songwriters returned. Carole King, Jeff Goffin, Tommy Boyce, Bobby Hart, which again, all of them wrote some of the greatest Monkey songs out there. And then we have it's a list of the original version, and depending on what version everybody owns, original version was 14 songs. I do have my copy here, which is from Sundays, and that actually has more than 14. It has a 15 songs with The Girl I Knew Somewhere as added to it. But this is my
Your
not,
magic.
yeah, not my original one, but my remastered, and I think it might have been colored. I just did it. No, it's black, but I like, it's nice to have the original ones, but like then I don't want to play them. So I want to get copies like this so I can play them all day long and not be wasted, So let's see here. All righty. So we'll just go into culture for real quick. 67 was one of the biggest years in rock music. You had the Doors, you had Jimmy, and you had Sergeant Pepper. Great year. Great year. So
everybody was going to Haight Ashbury, San Francisco, the Monterey Pop Festival. I mean, yeah, so many things happened.
yeah,
it was a big year in music.
It's and I know this could be a different album for you and album band, whatever. But Mamas and Papas, you really have to bring them into the loop too in the 60s, because I was such a huge fan. So let's dive right into song one. Before we dive into song one, real quickly, off top of your head, any favorite song off this album?
I mean, all the Nesmith tracks to me are strong, but I've always had kind of an affinity for Randy Scousket because it was so bizarre.
Yep.
And as a kid, the video with the big tom drum that he's playing, and where I don't know, it looked like a carpet or something he's wearing. Dolan's with the big afro. That's an impression that was strong as a kid, thinking, "Wow, this is cool."
Yeah, it's definitely it was definitely a carpet. I did hear him. I think it was a live show that's talked about it. I would have to say yes. Randy Scousket was always my favorite Sunny Girlfriend, but out of the truth, if you ask me in 2026, what's my favorite? It's definitely You Told Me. A song that I always enjoyed, but a song that I really grew a big passion for in the last 5 or 6 years. It also made me start realizing, Michael Nesmith as a songwriter. And it was more so of getting the lyrics wrong, like when I was listening to it and then going back and reading it going, oh, this is way better than what I thought he was saying, like times that have made me shy of all the things you were saying. I just love that line. Like times have made me shy, like simple, but just flowed out of his mouth. So good. And the fast pace of, I think it's banjo, right? In the very beginning. And another important thing on this song, which I don't know if you know, I'm sure you know, the beginning, 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 4 was a mockery of the Beatles. Taxman by
Taxman. Okay,
yeah. So they were imitating the Beatles purposely when they did that. Something I found out later. Any lyrics for you that really stand out on this song?
I don't know if it stands out, but I mean, it does just show, like you said, the quality and strength in his songwriting. But I mean, his whole body of work, you look at his solo work as well as what he did with the Monkees. I mean, it's just a huge catalog of strong songwriting. And this is a good example of it.
Absolutely. Yeah, Mike definitely did not disappoint on this one. Then we go to the next song, I'll Spend My Life With You. I mean, first of all, there's no bad song on this album for me. Not going to say this is one of the best songs, but a Mickey song, but a very touching, great 60s love song, I would say. Your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I mean, they open with with that, great bass line in the first song, and it's powerful and it gives you that punch. And
Uh-huh.
then it's like, okay, immediately after that, they draw it back with, just a calm love song. Um, for me, like not just this album, but a lot of the Monkees albums are not, because they're not cohesive as like a unit, like the Beatles, everything they did complemented each other. But
Yes.
in the case of the Monkees, there are four very individual people.
Uh-huh.
So like the dichotomy of like going from like this country rock Confederate type thing to this, happy little pop love song
Uh-huh.
to, it's sort of disjointed and all over the place.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of like listening to Double Fantasy with the John and Yoko
Yeah.
song. The song is like, okay, you're in that John mood, and then this weird like, it sounds like Oingo Boingo type music coming out, with a Yoko song. You're like, it doesn't mesh. You just kind of came off of that like one style, and you're like, oh, it's completely different.
Yeah, you have to do what I did on iTunes. I made a playlist and I took out Yoko songs. I added the other John Lennon songs from the Milk and Honey to it, and just made a big John Lennon album. Um,
And yeah, and my point wasn't that her songs are bad. I'm just saying
yeah,
they don't
don't fit.
go together, and that's how I kind of feel like you're going from that first track into this song.
Mhm.
It's kind of a strange, for me, like,
Yeah,
transition, and it's quick.
and just like the how the the I guess this is the yeah, I guess the chorus or the pre-chorus, or where he says, girl, I find you're still on my mind. Just the key that he sings it in, and it's so peaceful, quiet. And you're right, coming off the energy of You Told Me, it's kind of in a weird spot for the album. That's what
Yeah,
I want.
yeah,
You know,
I feel it's kind of, yeah, like this weird pocket that they just kind of tucked it into. Yeah.
should have been somewhere deeper on the album. For Get That Girl, kind of the same tempo and as I'll Spend My Life With You. But I think this is Davy Jones, so brings the Englishman into the play. I know was a huge fan favorite for the girls, so I know a lot of the girls in the '60s hearing this song. This is probably their start of the record. Great song though. You know, Definitely not. I mean, not one of my most favorite Davy Jones songs, but a good one. Anything for you on this one?
Yeah, yeah, solid pop song. I mean, Davey always, gives a good performance. Um,
Yeah,
but yeah,
good pop song.
yeah, nice little pop song. Yeah.
At six, um, I do like how Mickey really goes nuts on a drum and starts, screaming at the end. It's I think a minute long, not even instrumental. I needed, I don't know, but glad it's there. Absolutely.
Yeah, it gives it some character. It shows them, having fun together, which I think is the spirit of this album. Like, having that freedom to do what they want to do,
Mhm.
and I think it just gives you a little glimpse into that feeling, that camaraderie that was going on at that time. So I think it's cool.
Yeah, and the experimental, some of the chemicals experimental stuff and this music experiment. So I guess hand in hand, it has a place in there. Um, okay, so we go on to our next one, which is "You May Just Be the One." Um, Another great Nesmith song, love song, which is nothing wrong with that. Definitely not my favorite, but definitely don't hate it. How about you,
Yeah,
Joe?
I love it. It again is just, a strong Mike Nesmith song, and yeah, I think it's great.
Great. I remember it being on the TV show. Perfect for TV shows. Absolutely perfect.
Mhm.
Let's see here. We got to go now to Shades of Grey. This song, lyrically, musically, the way they sung it, I mean, it was just pure perfection. Um, I I think it's ahead of its time. I would even say. How
Yeah,
about you?
it's a lot deeper. I mean, lyrically, you read it, it's just as true today as it was, when it was recorded.
Yeah.
Um, and it's a lot more adult, I think, than a lot of what the Monkees were putting out up to this time.
Mhm.
Is very reflective, and again, Peter's voice on this, um,
Yes.
just gives it, I mean, and Peter not being the strongest vocalist, but it was like this song was, made for him.
Yes. I mean, yeah. I mean, the opening words when the world and I were young just yesterday. I mean, great line. Um,
And I
it,
like that they each have like that part of the song too. It's not just like one vocalist.
yes, but and it's funny because, like you're saying, the one who's really not the vocalist really outshined all the vocalists in this song. I think his singing is very important on this song, and this song is just a very important song. I think in general for the Monkees, and I know they continued to play this well into like the 1990s to 2000s at their live shows because I have seen them the reincarnations of them. Actually, never seen the original Monkees. I've always saw like I saw Davy Jones and I saw Mickey separate, and I saw um, Peter, Mickey, and Davy, or I saw Mickey and Mickey or Peter, but never got to see the original four.
Yeah, I never got to see the four of them together. And in '86, when the Nickelodeon thing was big, and we were just like little kids, they were
Yeah,
selling out stadiums, Veteran Stadium. That's the first concert I ever went to was the
yeah,
Monkees. Three of them, and it was like this huge band behind them, and they were just fronting on stage, and it was cool. But um, much later, as an adult, I got to see Peter Tork in a small club in Philadelphia called the Tin Angel, and
yes,
it's a small room, and he used to come there every year, and I don't know how many times I went to see him, but I mean, it's small, it's intimate. I don't know if they can fit 30 or 40 people in the place, and it just showed like how good of a musician he was, and he did the banjo and everything. It was really really cool seeing Peter.
that I would have loved to see that, and I know the Teen Angel very well. I have two friends that used to play it in the early 2000s constantly. Great venue, great. That's so you're so lucky to see that. So lucky to see that. That's such a. Oof, I would have loved that.
Mhm.
um, I can't get her off my mind. I love this song in the sense it has that to me that almost like I'm gonna say I don't want to say circus, but Broadville, like old fashioned music type of feel to it, like something you would see on Broadville, live before there was recording or something. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, I went through different phases with this kind of song. Like Cuddly Toy, I can't get her off of my mind. That kind of Davy cutesy song. Um, as a kid, oh yeah, it's a cool song because you're a kid, and then you get to like to be a teenager, like oh this is sissy,
Yeah.
yeah, get to the next track. And then, then you grow up a little bit, and then you just understand it. He was like this Broadway singer, and say a song and dance man, and that's
Mhm.
what he kind of did best.
Yes,
And I can appreciate it for what it is.
yes. But I Cuddly Toy. My God, one of my absolute favorites. I know people slammed him for that. I remember having a conversation with my father, like probably 20 years ago, where he said as like the Monkees were just like mutilated by his age group when they put out that song as being like a weak you band. But I just love it.
Yeah, and my favorite Monkeys album, which is really a soundtrack to the movie Head, they take all of these elements that were like the character elements of each one and how they were like kind of forced into this, and they're trying to escape that image, and they parody themselves. So when he's doing Daddy Song and he's doing like the big, the
Yes.
stage things, he is like poking fun at himself. Tony Basil was the choreographer who dances with him in that,
Oh,
who later did Hey Mickey. You know,
yeah, I didn't know
um,
that. Wow.
yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Uh, so yeah, these kind of songs that he had Cuddly Toy and I Can't Get Her Off My Mind. When they got to do the movie where they're kind of putting the Monkees to death, and parodying themselves, it took like it changed my thinking about these kind of songs. I used to like, oh, that
Yeah.
stupid song, as a young teenager or young adult. Like, yeah, you wanted to be, I want the rock songs, I want the cool songs, but
Yes.
yeah.
Well, I didn't know Head was your favorite one. So then you got to promise me that we're going to do that album soon, because I would love that. That's an album that deserves a show. That's what a great Head is. Even the movie, I love the movie. But we'll get it. We're going to do a movie slash album deep dive on that.
Okay.
For Pete's sake, um, I think a staple song for the Monkees. Great guitar intro, great lyrics. Definitely, I think was appropriate and definitely gave the boost to the television show as a closing song.
Yeah, they used it from the second season. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this was such a. I don't know. I wish I really deep dive a little bit more on this, on where if it charted anywhere, the song itself, because I couldn't picture why this wasn't a big hit in the '60s. Um, it just to me screams flower power, 60 hippie, I want to be free, as they, especially say, in the song, we have what's it, and what we have to do is to be free. I'm in this generation, love and time. Just great song and great vocals by Mickey, and great job on the band playing this one. So what
Yeah,
all?
this was a Peter Tork's composition, and I think he
Oh,
co-wrote it with a friend of his, and you know, it it, it might not be the deepest lyrics, but it definitely sees the Monkees become, especially coming out of that last song, into something much more progressive. And that's what I mean by like the disjointedness of how the album kind of goes all over the place. But
uh-huh.
because you got four so individualistic personalities, I mean, what else? How else would you put these songs together?
Yeah. And too, like we want to talk about growth. Previous for Peter Tork was Anthony Griselda, and now
Yeah,
this. And I love Anthony Griselda, but
yeah,
what a
me too.
difference. Anthony Griselda, like that's something that we actually, that's so classic that and timeless that you could probably do something like that now and still get away with that. All right. Mr. Webster. Oh my God, do I in my life have I gone back and forth with the song? And I am back on the kick of the song in the sense of lyrics. Such a good, like, it's such a story. And if if you don't listen to it really closely, you lose the story aspect to it. But this is such a tale of American worker in my eyes, and how you can work somewhere for years, especially back then. Nowadays, if somebody holds a job for 2 years somewhere, they're lucky. But back then, you worked your whole life, and if you were lucky to get a thank you and a watch when you retire.
Yeah, yeah.
Great song.
Yeah, and it feels like like it is kind of an attempt to do a Eleanor Rigby type song, a story. I don't know who Mr. Webster was. I have heard that it was a real person, but I don't know really what the background is, on who Mr. Webster actually was, or if he was just a character for the song. But yeah, like again, it's becoming more progressive into topics and themes that were never explored before in the first two albums, which are just kind of pop and light and
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this album just screams like we were not doing what we did the first two albums, which
yeah,
was maybe not their call, but it was a good call.
I think how risky that was too, because I mean they had been so successful,
Uh-huh.
and to say, well, we want to just completely go in and do this our own way. Who knew how it would have been received? I mean, fortunately, it was received very well, and that's why it changed history, not just for the Monkees, but I mean, this album, a manufactured group of people becoming a real band.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, this made them a band. Sunny Girlfriend, one of the best Michael Nesmith songs. At sometimes in my life, this is my favorite song off the album. As I said, right now, it's definitely You Told Me, but she owns and operates her own sunshine factory. I can remember hearing that at 10 years old and now at 50 years old. It still gives me chills. I love that
Mhm.
line. I love it. I mean, and there's so much great lyrics on this, and this song is just fun. And I think it should be played on classic rock radio stations or golden oldies, whatever. Probably not classic rock, but more of a golden oldies. And it probably isn't, but this song still belongs on the airwaves.
Yeah, I have a question, and I don't know if you would know the answer or not, but
Mhm.
ever since I was a kid, you hear that opening riff, bum, da, 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 like, oh, Rolling Stones, it's all over now. What?
Oh,
No, oh, the Sunny Girlfriend. Ever since I was a kid, I would hear like the Rolling Stones on the radio. I'm like, oh, the Monkees are coming on. Oh, it's a different song. Why is that opening riff like completely borrowed from It's All Over Now? Have you ever
you know,
heard a reason for that?
I never put that together, but now that you're saying that, yeah. And again, if you think about it, they got the Beatles on the first song with the 1 2 3. Was Mike trying to say something with that intro, you know, with the Rolling Stones at that time? Because regardless what everybody wants to say about the Monkees versus the Rolling Stones or the Beatles, and they were all tight friends, you know. So it could have been friendly, hey, I'm gonna, show you, friendly play, something you would never see anymore now. But I remember, I mean, not Hayes, but Laura Canyon, that whole scene in LA where they all lived together and they were hopping over to each other's houses and playing songs with each other, and they were such a community. And not, I know the Beatles was LA. I mean, England and Monkees were LA, but they crossed paths, they hung out. I know there's lots of stories of the Monkees being in the UK and hanging out with the Beatles, and um, I love how they weren't afraid to joke with each other and be friends with each other. Yeah, zilch. Uh, oof. I know there's a big message to this, but I'm not 100% sure. There's
I don't know. I never knew what it meant. As kids, with my
uh,
sisters and friends, or like, oh, you take this part, I'll take this part, and we'd recreate it.
yes.
But meaning, I have no idea.
Yeah, there's got to be something, Mr. Bob Damalina. Um, I don't know. I know this is something that, like I said, I should have googled beforehand, but really, again, not an important song, but makes that part of an album that makes it very special.
Well, it's kind of like abstract art. It's not so much like what it is represented in trueness. Like you might see like a combination of colors on a canvas, and you might not say, "Oh, it's a building, or it's a flower, or it's a person." It invokes some kind of emotional response from it when you look at it. But I think music is a lot that same way, and even words put together, rhythmically, they just create like a feeling. They don't have to necessarily be, you know, um, make total sense. Just like an abstract painting doesn't need to be, like real life.
Mhm.
It's still it evokes some kind of a response, an emotion when you experience it.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. A great add to the album. Okay, so we have no time. Often, I get sometimes I really do still to this day, like no time and going down. I get them confused. Um, which they are very different, because going down is more bluesy and no time is more faster. And
Yeah,
but
I feel this is like Chuck Berry, trying to be, like, roots rock.
yes, I mean I'm not even going to attempt some of these lyrics, but definitely
Again, like nonsense lyrics
yes.
that just seem to sound good.
I do remember when I was a kid, I did try to master being able to sing this nonstop, without making a word wrong or anything, and keeping Mickey's pace because, whew, when he wants to sing, he would. I think if Mickey Dolenz was younger in the 80s and 90s, he would have been a speed metal singer or something because he had the pipes and able to sing fast for somebody back in the 60s. Um, a great song. You know, definitely belongs on the album. Fun and good time music. All right, so we got early morning blues and greens. A song that probably back in the day, for us for the 80s, I wasn't something that I really pointed out on, but I think listening to it now, I mean, just the song, the title is really awesome. And then, it was very interesting when I was putting this slide deck together, the limitation of lyrics. I always thought there was a lot more lyrics to it, and there really isn't much. But a very adult song, if you ask me.
Yeah, this was one. It depended on like the mood I was in, how it caught me. There would
Mhm.
be times it was like, okay, lift the needle, go to the next song. When other, in a more relaxed state, just like, okay, just taking it in, and the little like, is it like like an organ or piano piece? I don't know
Yeah,
what.
dude. Yeah, it's got that do. Yeah, I mean, definitely heavy organ, piano, heavy good. It's some guitar, like heavy guitar, but not heavy sounding. Very light sounding, but definitely dominating guitar in it. A great song though. Davy Jones, perfect. Very different for his style. That he usually brought to the Monkees. You normally would have thought something like this would have been a Mickey song, but again, too, you don't know because I know that there was plenty of Monkey songs where they recorded multiple people singing it, and then the best take was put out. You know, so we don't necessarily know from the very beginning if this was meant for Davy, and then it was just in the end it was his voice was the best. But great song.
Yeah, it's like some of the outtakes. Like I don't know if you ever listened to the Missing Links. I think they did 3 volumes of outtake songs, and they have multiple different versions of different people singing certain songs and whatnot.
That's probably about 3 or 4 years ago that it came out. Missing Links 1, 2, and 3 came out on vinyl
Oh,
and
okay.
on Record Store Day. And Joe, I can tell you, I drove all over Florida making sure I got a copy of each album because I was like, I am not missing that. That was to me was so cool. Now, have I listened to them since I bought them? Probably, but I had them digitally for years prior to that. Uh, okay, so again, a song here I think you and I established in the very beginning means a lot to both of us. Um, Randy Scout's Git. God, the lyrics, piano, drumming, singing, just totally kicks butt in this song.
Yeah, yeah. And for me, like the video that went with it, seeing Mickey, the way he was dressed, the way his hair was, his facial expression, and the nice soft, she's a wonder, and then the
Yeah,
smile, and then why don't just It
Uh-huh.
just gets real big with the drum and kind of like that, again, that dichotomy between like the sweet to the ah.
Another backup to what I just said before, he could be a thrash metal guy. Because when he freaks out on this, he's singing it. He's singing it like, I'm gonna invent 80s heavy metal. I
But this song title, which has nothing to do with any of the lyrics in the song,
mhm.
Mickey tells a story where he was in England and there was a TV show. It was Till Death Us Do Part, I think it was called. It was the inspiration for All in the Family.
Okay.
Yeah, and there was a character on there, and he was kind of bigoted, and he would, come out with these different things. And one of the things he called one of the people on the show was a Randy Scouse Kid. And,
Mhm.
like Mickey took that and made it the title of the song. Well, when
Yeah.
they tried to release it in England, oh no, wait, you can't say that. To Americans, they have no idea like it had any meaning at all. But it came off as being very controversial and offensive. Um, I don't. Do you understand that? What
Yes.
the?
And I
Yeah,
remember hearing the story. I believe that this actually didn't get airplay because of that in England.
they were told to get a different. They couldn't release it as Randy Scouse Git, which kind of translate to a uh, Randy. I think most people know what that is. Thanks
Mhm.
to Austin Powers. A Scouse would be like somebody from Liverpool, but like and a Git is just like a jerk.
Yeah.
So it was considered like we can't make that. So you're going to have to come up with an alternate title. So how was it released in England? Alternate title.
Yep. Yes. Yes. That's correct. It's so funny because Randy Scouts get, but look what gets put out nowadays.
Oh yeah, right.
Like anybody would
But
love.
this was the Monkees, with their like 10-year-old fans.
Yes. But right. I mean, yeah, wrote in England, where he spent a lot of time, and he spent a lot of time. Well, he spent a real long time in working and living in England after the Monkees. So I
Like
know that
directing and whatnot. Yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
directing BBC. I wonder if he ever did any Doctor Who. That would be cool. I have to check that out. But yeah, he's Mickey's just man of many, many talents. Actually married an English woman too, and I know they had some kids. But best song Mickey ever wrote. Best song I think he ever played. I mean, which is good for him. I'd rather his song be the best song he ever did versus, you know, this song's okay, but I'm a believer, which I know a lot of people are going to say that's their
Yeah.
favorite
Yeah.
song.
Right.
Yeah, I like I'm a believer. Neil Diamond did a great song job writing that song, but Mickey deserves an award for this one. Okay, so let's go back to you and I. So monkeys here. Um, who's your favorite?
You know, if you want to just talk about my favorite musician, my favorite monkey, it's going to be Mike Nesmith,
Mhm.
with Mickey right on his tail. Musically, I love Mike's entire body of work. Post Monkees, the first national band, everything that he did. Um, but personality wise, I mean, just he could break you up with just a smirk or a look. I mean,
Mhm.
Mickey, and then he would go into like that high
Yeah,
tension, like spastic kind of,
yeah.
Mickey always made me laugh the hardest, but I
Mickey,
like Mike the best.
Mickey almost reminds me of like what's his name, Jim Carrey, in a sense. Before there was Jim Carrey.
Yeah, yeah, over the top,
Yeah.
but not quite annoying.
No,
you
no,
know,
no, yeah. I love Mickey. Jim Carrey, I can give and take.
yeah, it's something like, oh, tone it down at least at one point. I mean,
Yes. For me, Davy Jones.
okay.
I, I think sometimes it was for me because when I was a kid, my father was a guitar player and I wanted to be a musician. I wanted to be a singer, but obviously I didn't have the voice for it. Uh, I wanted to play, but I failed at guitar lessons. I failed at bass lessons. Um, I did good. I did good. Start to do good songwriting, which I don't know if you ever got to hear anything that your cousin-in-law and I did. You know, love writing lyrics. But yeah, Davy Jones, I guess he played that tambourine, and I was like, I would actually remember when I was probably like 10 or 11 years old, and I wanted to be in a school band, and it couldn't be, and I asked to play the tambourine, and I would never have asked that if it wasn't for Davy Jones. And I got told, we don't use tambourine in our school band. I'm like, okay, I guess I'm not joining. But yeah, I mean, definitely my favorite without a doubt. And the
Yeah.
sad thing about that is 2000, I think it was 2012. I was at work. I was working in New Jersey, in Secaucus, New Jersey, which is 10-minute ride to New York City. And I don't think I was playing on my phone at work, and I saw Davy Jones playing in New York City that night. And I ran into the office of I worked in healthcare, so it was one of the nurses that I knew, and I said, "Davy Jones is playing, New York City tonight. Let's leave work and go right to the city because it was a 10-minute ride." And she's like, "Hell yeah!" And we went and saw a solo show, and it was
Cool.
phenomenal.
Did he do a lot of Monkees material or kind of a
Yeah.
mix?
Yeah, I think the only non-Monkey song was the one he did, "A Girl," was for the
Oh, on the Birdie Bunch, yeah.
yeah. Um, the downfall of it, right? A week and a half later, Davy Jones dead.
Oh,
And I
no
couldn't
way.
believe it. It was like the third to last show that he performed. And
Mm,
I
mm.
never in a million years when I was sitting there watching that show would have thought we were losing him in a week because he was just on his A game, totally on his A game. And I tell you,
Yeah.
it's crazy how that works with me with him because fast forward like another probably rewind like 15, 16, 17 years. And I think it was around 2003. I'm doing contract work in California, and I decided to go down to Santa Cruz Beach for the afternoon, just random, just to check it out. And I'm walking around, and there's this stage on the beach, and I'm like looking, and I'm like, oh, there's going to be a concert. So I one of the roadies, I go, who's playing? And they're like, Davy Jones from the Monkees. It's a free concert. And I went, oh my god! And I stayed. I was going to go home, and I just stayed on in Santa Cruz and so watched the show, and then went home after that. So those were the two solo shows I did get to see. I think I saw a third one. Again, another nightclub, but just great performer, definitely my favorite. Now, the Monkees tour for this album, obviously, you and I were not old enough to go. Well, you weren't even born. 67. Believe it was Jimi Hendrix opened up for them.
Yeah, this on this bill right here, Jimi
Yeah.
Hendrix Experience, special guest. This was in July of '67. This says Jacksonville Coliseum in Florida. I don't know how close that is to where you're at.
Literally less than an hour.
Okay, well,
Just drove through
so
last night.
yeah, the Monkees, who all of a sudden, okay, they declared their independence. They got this album. Now they're going out and tour, and they got to play concerts. Mickey Dolenz is learning how to play drums, basically on the fly. Davy's trying to, fill in on bass when Peter's doing something else, or, coming onto the drum kit just to keep time when Mickey goes out in the front. So, yeah, they did have him moving around a little bit. But the thing that stands out to me when I see the Monkees playing and Mickey Dolenz behind a drum kit is his setup. Now, a typical right-handed drummer would have his hi-hat over here, and he would use his right foot for the kick drum. But Mickey's setup is his hi-hat's on his right side, which means his left foot is on the kick drum and his right foot is on the hi-hat, yet he's playing as a right-handed drummer, but he's got a left-handed setup. Like, what's going on? Who's teaching this dude how to play drums? And for a long time, I just thought, okay, he's a unique guy, and maybe that's just how he felt he wanted to do it, maybe to be different. I didn't know. but a story I heard him tell recently was he had some kind of an issue with his legs, some kind of disease or something that made his right leg tired and painful when he was using it for the kick drum.
Mm.
So the guy who was teaching him said, well, just reverse them, make your setup comfortable for you. And so, you're seeing him play with a hi-hat over here, but he's playing right-handed with the left-handed setup.
That's pretty awesome. That's I did not know that, and I would have just taken it. Maybe he didn't was it because he was maybe self-taught or learning on his own, but even getting instructed, but which would make sense. I mean, if you got some kind of disability, you got it like, we look at I just recently found out that Jeff Haley passed away, and he was a blind guitar player. Like, it's funny, like not funny, but like I can see and I can't play guitar. And here this person can't even see where he's putting his fingers and was able to successfully kill it. It's amazing. But I guess I know as a guitar player, you might be able to play without even looking, right? I guess at one point.
Yeah, I don't consider myself a musician, entertainer who plays a guitar. Yeah, but maybe not a musician. I do a lot of things wrong because I just, am self-taught and make,
Oh,
you just learn the wrong way, and that's what you do. But one thing that I still do to this day, and I don't even think about the Monkees when I do it. Every day when I put on my belt, put on my pants, I take my belt and it's on that left side. Just like, remember Peter Tork's belt buckle was always off to the side.
yes.
Right. I don't know. I thought it was cool as a kid, but when I started playing guitar, your guitar is clanging against your belt. So you just, and it was just easier to do. I don't even think about it. People ask me, why is your belt, your belt's crooked? Like, yeah. And I don't even think why I do it, but initially as a kid, I started doing it. I want to be like Peter. I want to be like the Monkees.
Yeah, and also with this tour 67 and this album, which is like probably known for the biggest tour in the 60s. This tour, there was an album, like Monkees Live 1967. I think you have a copy of that, right?
Yeah, they put out the. Can you see that without the light shining on it? There we go. The Monkees Live 1967.
Yeah, this is from the headquarter tour, which if you haven't
read the probably can't read the track line.
Yeah, actually read it to us real quick.
Well, there's a lot of the big hits, Last Train to Clarksville, You Just May Be the One, The Girl That I Knew Somewhere, I Want to Be Free, Sunny Girlfriend, Your Auntie Griselda.
Yeah.
And then side 2, Forget That Girl, Sweet Young Thing.
Yes.
Mary, Mary, I'm a Believer, Randy Skalskit, they did live. And then they closed this one with I'm Not Your Stepping Stone, which, was one of their, well-known hits.
What you said, what was the one? It was a Night Mesmic song. It had that Scottish feel to it. What was on? It was played on that album. You just said, oh God, mine's going blank. What songs of his are on that again?
Well, we got You Just May Be the One.
Yeah.
Sunny Girlfriend.
No.
Sweet Young Thing.
Sweet Young Thing. Yeah. Has that kind of Scottish like feel to it. Love that song. Again, songs that I think in 2026 you're not going to write, but in 67, yes, great song. I can't remember off the top of my head. That was probably the second album, I want to say. I don't think it was on the first, but it could have been on the first. But what a great song!
Yeah.
I didn't get to see 67. You didn't get to see 67, but I did get to see a few years ago in Orlando, Florida. Mickey did a storytelling show, but his whole set list was the headquarter album from first to last song, plus some of the other hits. And he told a story between every song. And I actually had a chance to see Mickey probably a month or two ago in Florida.
Okay. Well, this is his last go around, isn't it?
Yes, but
Yeah.
I couldn't do it because seeing him play headquarter was so special and so perfect to me that I wanted that as my last memory, you
Okay.
know, and
Okay.
I couldn't go because I said I want that. That was because it was the most special thing, and one of the reasons why when we we talked about doing this episode, I said headquarter, just because it's their own and my personal favorite. But hey, we definitely got to get that one. Without
Yeah.
a doubt. Well, Joe,
Yeah.
I want to thank you so much for your time and helping me review this album. I don't think I could have picked a better person. You know your monkeys.
I don't know if I know it. I know I like it. Yeah, it's
Right?
fun
Yeah.
talking about it.
It's nice when you can do this. I know, like, I'm going to be doing these with somebody where one, I'm not going to know the album very well, or the other person's not going to know it because I'm also very open. I always tell my guests, like, give me an album, you want to do, let me make me listen to something, but this was nice because this was right up my alley and your alley.
Okay.
Uh,
I got to look for your other podcast too. Like, where can we watch it?
so this is going to be on YouTube, album deep dive for Jason and Friends. Just as of now, none have aired, but once 5 are in the can, 2 already filmed, they're going to start going out. So hopefully in
Okay.
another week, you can also help by doing that, helping me film some of the next episodes, and we can get it out. But I do have some more lined up next week. I guess, I don't know when they're probably coming out in order, but I would imagine this is going to be number 2. Well, thank you very much. If you're a listener, thank you. Subscribe, like, comment, throw out an album. God, I would love to have something that I've never heard before and I have to deep dive and look. But in the meantime, I'm going to be nailing everybody down with every album that I do know. Thank you all very much. Thanks for watching.
Super fun, cause that's who I am. So don't try to stifle, don't try to trifle, or I'll shoot you down with my Nerf gun rifle. It was a hot summer day, heard the Monkees play on a pair of deaf headphones. So I jumped in the car with Johnny Pop Star, looking like Davy Jones. I said, hey, I'm Super Fonz, and I'm coming to your town. But I'm too busy rapping to put anybody down. So here's a little something for you rock and roll junkies. Super Fonz and Johnny Pop so cold chillin' with the Monkees. Yes, it
12 o'clock. Could you die? And they will. The magnetic Freeble Energizer. Release the incredible power of the Protus.